parking at the West Street entrance toilets. And there could be, I've gone in there at 10 o'clock in the morning and there could be 2 free car parks and the rest are taken by staff. And they've still got all the cars parked just outside their workshop gates, which are still shingle drive, and parking in there. So it's mainly, I'm saying this, it doesn't affect us, but it does affect a lot of mothers and children that want to use the playground, because I've seen them park at the bowling club and walk across with their children to the playground. And the other one was, I forgot to tell that social occasions, the whole winter is taken up every Monday. Our present president, Diane Gutbullet, runs cards, runs 500 in the club rooms every Monday night during the winter month. And we can have anything up to 30 people. And probably there may be half of them are club members and the others are public that enjoy coming there, playing cards and having a cup of tea, and this go right through the winter. These are really all the things that I wanted to just enlighten you with. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Right, okay. Councillor Cameron, question.
Thank you for that. I'd just have a question for staff, if that's okay, please.
Yes.
How many, through you, Mr. Chair, how many people work out of the Domain Hub?
Through the chair, around about 20 to 30 staff each day. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Joe, you say it's council staff parking there. How do you know it's council staff?
Because I see them leave and come, and with quite a few of them, I know their cars.
Thanks.
Councillor Rawlinson.
Thank you. Just to follow on, looking at your submission and your answer about relocating the bowling club was no, no, no and no. But if what in your eyes the worst was to happen, is there anywhere else in that domain that you would see the bowling club being or suitable place to relocate it?
Me personally, no. I can't see anywhere on the plan that would fit a hub.
So
and that's why I said in my first submission that I think the whole domain should be a hub. The whole domain's a hub.
So with just supplementary, with the proposed idea that has been mentioned on the plans into what some of us call the old camping ground, that's not a suitable place either?
Not at all, because I'm sure that open air wouldn't want to cut trees down there. And that is the main problem. I've looked at it 2 or 3 times at different times of the day. And most of the times there's a shadow that comes across would be across the greens, and that's just impossible.
Thank you.
Joe, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. When you talk about the parking, you perhaps give the best excuse for the bowling to be shifted. So what is the solution for the bowling club to stay where it is and parking not to be a problem, or the bowling club to be moved somewhere else? I'm being the devil's advocate, but I think the question has to be asked.
Councillor Mackay, I doubt whether if we weren't there, we only take up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We take up 8 car parks at a bowling club.
Right, okay.
If we've got a tournament, they're far away, they're further away from the bowling club.
Okay.
I don't think the staff would want to park all that way, and then they'd probably get growled at because they're taking up car parks for visitors.
Okay. I've been the devil's advocate, so that's good. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Just a question for staff, if I may.
Yep.
How many car parks are there in the domain area we're talking about? Do we know?
Through the chair, I could come back to you on that. We can have a count up.
Further questions, councillors? Joe, can I thank you for, sorry?
I was actually just going to ask
Oh,
a question
councillor Lovett, yep.
to staff. Are the staff allowed to park in there, or is there restrictions or not? Because this is a question I've been asked a lot about, the lack of car parking in there because of the staff. And is there any rules, regulations to staff about their parking and where they can?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there's currently no restrictions. They're public parks. So staff are as much a member of the public as a mum with a child. What there's clearly pressure, and we may need to think carefully about a solution, but public parks are public parks.
Joe, can I thank you for making your personal submission? You've raised two topics that have not been raised by other submitters, in my opinion. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me.
Mr. Priddy, would you like to come forward, please? And your submission is on page 210. And Robin, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Councillors, I speak on behalf of the Ashburton Bowling Club, of which I'm a member. I wish to lodge my objection to the proposed non-renewal of the lease on the land in the domain now occupied by the Ashburton Bowling Club. In the 1860s, the area of the domain was set up not only as a garden area, but also as a sporting and recreational reserve. The Ashburton Bowling Club was formed in 1899, as far as I'm aware, set up their green on the present site, and as such, they are part of the history of the domain. About 20 years ago, I was on the committee of the Tinwell Bowling Club when the Tinwell Club, of which it was part of, went into receivership and the property was sold. However, the new owners did not allow us to continue using the bowling green, as at that time the cost of re-establishing the green was well beyond the means of the Tinwell Bowling Club, so it had to close down. The majority of members joined the Ashburton Bowling Club, with a similar situation again with the proposed renewal on the lease on the land. If the council will not renew the bowling club's lease, it will mean the Ashburton Bowling Club will have to close. Two suggested sites have been proposed, but in my opinion neither of them is suitable for a bowling green. This is quite apart from the massive cost of re-establishing the green to the standard of our existing one and building a new pavilion. That cost is able to be met by the bowling club, so in that case it would mean the closure of the club. It also totally disregards the historical importance of the bowling club has had with its presence. On the proposed plan for the area of the bowling green, it is at present appears that it's to be an open area, and maybe a coffee or ice cream. And I understand it's the intention that the present clubhouse be turned into a restaurant. With the number of people visiting the gardens and playgrounds, such a venture would be very unlikely to succeed. Already, many of the restaurants around town are struggling to make a profit. As the population of this country is ageing, with the post-Second World War baby boomers now either having reached 65 years old or will do soon, there is a need to encourage recreational activities for this part of the population, not close to what we already have. As an alternative idea, why could not the area of the section be developed into a paved area with outside tables and seats? Although recently some tidying up has been done in the area, but up until recently that area was in, and it still is in, poor condition. The aviary could do with some modernisation as well, and which would be an additional attraction. The information building on East Street, if it has not already been sold, could be shifted to that area and act as a coffee shop or ice cream parlour during the summer months and in the weekends and holidays when there are more people in the gardens. Perhaps volunteer staff may be able to man it, as it would not support a full-time staff member. If the information centre is not available, then perhaps a purpose-built tea kiosk could be built there. One of the problems with this idea is that the children having to cross the driveway to go and get an ice cream from the across the area from the playground to go and get an ice cream. However, if the new proposed entrance to the garden is established, then there would be no traffic past the present car park, so then it would no longer be a danger in such a scheme. Perhaps in the meantime, a Mr. Whippy mobile ice cream van could be encouraged to call into the domain during the summer months, and this would give some idea on the demand for ice creams, etc. I urge the councillors to very seriously reconsider the situation and renew the lease to the bowling club on its present site, and to establish a hub in the area at present occupied by the Aviary. To the submission, I have attached 3 photographs which support the submission. The first photograph shows the beautiful trees which were planted back in the 1860s, reflected in the pond, which was also established at that time. The second one shows the bowlers enjoying an afternoon of bowls on a pristine green. The third one shows the area of the Aviary, which could be best described in bowler's language as a bowl delivered on the wrong bias, going in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pretty. My question is to staff. The 3 photographs, were they not put on Stella? No. So.
You may want to pass these photos round.
Oh, I see the photographs.
Such
Okay,
a-
thank you. If they could be passed around, Emily, would be really good. Thank you. Councillors, questions of Mr. Pretty? Councillor McMillan.
Thank you. Just a question, well, you mentioned about the Mr. Whippy van coming in, and I think that's a great idea, because I'm sure lots of kids would like that, but do you think there should be sort of, I suppose, a wee hub where the mobile vendors could come in and sell instead of having a sort of a more permanent cafe? Is that what you're suggesting?
In the short term, that would probably be quite a good idea, but I think when you're looking long term, eventually, as the population increases, there may be a need for a tea kiosk, selling ice creams over you wouldn't be able to do it 7 days a week, but on the weekends and holidays, there are quite a few kids at the playgrounds, and my suggestion is that you need to test the market first before you go and spend too much money. And if the Mr. Whippy setup doesn't work, well, it's no use building a building there. But if it does work and it looks as though it's profitable, well, you could put an ice cream parlour into that area where the Aviary is.
Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You talk about the Aviary. Do you think the Aviary should stay or the Aviary should go?
Well, I think if it's going to stay there, it needs fixing up a fair bit and making it an attraction. Well, perhaps some different birds there. A few years ago, I don't know what's happened to them, but we donated some peacocks to the Aviary. My wife bred peacocks, And they were always a nice attraction, apart from the squawking noise they make. But there are quite a number of birds. Perhaps a few native birds like keas and things like that would be good. I suppose you couldn't keep keas because the wildlife people might be against that. But I think it could be made a good attraction. Yes, and particularly if you could attract more people into that area, because you've got an ice cream parlour and a nice courtyard. And I would suggest that if you do put a courtyard in, you put some nice raised beds in, and you could put annual flowers, and so you can make it really attractive. I'm sure you could make it. It would be a great area to develop, and it wouldn't cost all that much either.
Right. Further questions, councillors? Mr. Pretty, thank you very much for making your submission and especially showing us the photographs that you've taken. And I learnt something from you. The people of Ashburton should be grateful for you donating the peacocks for them to look at. Thank you for that.
There was squawking. The peacocks we had up on the farm were squawking one night, and the next door neighbour thought my wife was beating hell out of the kids.
Good one. Well, on that jovial note, councillors, before we get beaten up by anyone, I'll adjourn until 12:50 when we have the New Zealand Disc Golf Association, page 124, come in. I adjourn.